This is 2.3, day 1, part 2. Here's a second example. Now this one, since we've just done one just very similar to this one you might want to just put your pencils down and watch. So we have another cubic function, and we want to divide it by 4x plus 5. So I want to say, look at the first two terms, and I just kind of do it off to the side so I don't make a mistake. I say 4x cubed divided by 4x. What am I left with when I take 4x cubed divided by 4x? 4x squared. So where is that going to go over here? Above which term? It's an x squared, so it has to go above the x squared term. Why isn't it just x squared? Oh, thank you. Just x squared. Good job. X squared. Now what am I going to do with that x squared? Multiply it to both terms in front. So x squared times 5 is 5x squared. And then x squared times 4x is 4x cubed. Now this is a plus and a plus right now. I have to change those to minuses. All right. Now, 4x cubed minus 4x cubed is 0. Negative 7x squared minus 5x squared is negative 12x squared. I'm going to bring down that negative 11x. Now I'm going to divide again. I'm just doing it off to the side so I don't make a mistake. So now I'm going to take negative 12x squared and divide it by 4x. Negative 12x squared divided by 4x is negative 3x. So that'll go above the x term. Now what do I do with the negative 3x? Multiply it to the two terms in front. So negative 3x times 5 is negative 15x. Then negative 3x times 4x is negative 12x squared. Then I have to change the sign. So negative 12x squared plus 12x squared is 0. Negative 11x plus 15x is 4x. Bring down the plus 5. Now I say, does 4x, there's my first one, 4x, divided by what's in front, 4x. What do I get there? A 1. So that goes up here above the 5. Now I multiply again. 1 times 5 is positive 5. 1 times 4x, 4x. Subtract, subtract. And I get 0. So I know that I can factor out 4x plus 5 from that cubic function. My remainder is 0. So my final answer, I wrote so big, 4x plus 5. And then what I'm left with is x squared minus 3x plus 1. And then if we wanted to continue factoring this, we could go into the polynomial of the x squared. But this is not factorable, so we'd have to use the quadratic formula. And what this does is for tomorrow, we're going to continue focusing on the zeros of the function, be able to graph these cubics now knowing this. All right. This one I say I would recommend you write down. It's a little bit different twist to the problem. So you want to take x cubed minus 1 and divide it by x minus 1. What is going to go underneath that division symbol? Is it going to be x cubed minus 1? You probably don't know this. I would recommend you just leave it as x cubed minus 1. You put in its placeholders all the way down to its constant minus 1. So I don't have an x squared term, but I want you to put it there. I don't have an x term, but I want you to put it there. And then there is minus 1. Put the placeholders there if it doesn't have the x cubed, the x squared, the x, and then the constant. Now we're going to go ahead and divide it. So we're going to take x cubed and divide it by x. What is x cubed divided by x? X squared. So now that's going to go above the x squared term. You do the next step. What did you do? What did you do with the x squared? Did you multiply x squared times negative 1? You want to put it underneath, and that's why it's important to have that placeholder. And then x squared times x is x cubed. Now change the signs. Minus, plus. X cubed minus x cubed is 0. 0x squared plus 1x squared is 1x squared. Now let's come over here, this off to the side. And now we're going to take 1x squared and divide it by x. What are we left with? X squared divided by x is x. And now we multiply again. X times negative 1. Bring down that 0x. X times negative 1 is negative 1x. X times x is x squared. Change the signs. Negative, plus. X squared minus x squared is 0. 0x plus 1x is 1x. Bring down the negative 1. Now x divided by x is 1. So I get plus 1. Now multiply again. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. 1 times x is x. Change the signs, negative, plus, and I get a remainder of 0. So this is factorable. So x minus 1 is factored out, and we're left with x squared plus x plus 1. That's what we factored out. Plus 1. And then if we want to continue factoring that quadratic, we could. Are there any factors of 1 that add to 1? No. So we'd have to use the quadratic formula. But they're not asking us to do that. They just want you to divide it. Stop recording there.